I am the lucky father of Andrew, Sarah, Ryan, and Jack. And as parents, we teach our children to play nice in the sandbox. This generally means to treat others with respect, to share toys, to avoid unnecessary conflict, and definitely do not throw sand in the other kids' faces. For the past 18 and a half years, I've taught a bipartisan leadership class here at Bradley University. In fact, I think I may be the only college professor in America that specifically focuses a course on how bipartisan collaborative leadership is the most effective way to govern. Indeed, the Institute for Principled Leadership in Public Service at Bradley University, which I have the privilege of directing, its mission is to develop bipartisan, collaborative, civil, ethical leaders for the future. Now, this generation of college students has mostly grown up in an era of polarization. Can college students learn leadership lessons from the past and develop the leadership skills to advance societal priorities in our nation, states, communities, neighborhoods, and college campuses? The answer is absolutely yes. So the great thing is we have this rich legacy of producing principled leaders that model this kind of leadership. And so tonight, all of you are my students. And New Miller Hall is my bipartisan leadership classroom, okay? So in the first month of our class, the students read A Long Hard Furrow, which is a detailed account of U.S. Senate Minority Leader Everett Dirksen's pivotal role in getting the historic 1964 Civil Rights Act passed. Dirksen, from Pekin, Illinois, adorned the front cover of Time magazine. President Johnson gave Dirksen the credit for his leadership during the critical hour to get the historic Civil Rights Act passed. What leadership lessons can be gleaned from this legislative story? First, early and active involvement of the minority party. President Johnson insisted that the majority leaders meet with Dirksen, listen to Dirksen, even drink with Dirksen. And Senate Majority Leader Humphrey held weekly bipartisan congressional meetings with Senator Dirksen that lasted over a year before the final product of the Civil Rights Bill. The second lesson is mutual respect. President Johnson and President Kennedy had a cordial relationship with Senator Dirksen going back to their days serving in the United States Senate. The congressional leaders from both sides treated each other with mutual respect. Now, did they agree on all public policy issues? No, but they were not mean-spirited, and they tried to find common ground where they could. The third lesson, compromise. Senator Dirksen was able to leave his imprint on the Civil Rights Bill with 10 substantive amendments that even the Majority Leader Humphrey said made the legislation better for the country. Now, I tell my Bradley students all the time, as far as I know, neither political party has a lock on wisdom. The fourth point, country before party. In his passionate final remarks on the Senate floor before the vote, Senator Dirksen said, "I trust that the waters of partisanship will not flow so fast and so deep as to obscure my estimate of the national interest." Dirksen put the best interests of the country first. He knew that the time had finally come for passage of the Civil Rights Act. Now, I'll explain this slide a little bit more, a little bit further in my talk. The second text that my students read is Seeking Bipartisanship, My Life in Politics by Ray LaHood and Frank McMillan, which is an account of Ray LaHood's 14 years in Congress and then 4 years serving in the cabinet under President Obama. Both Obama and LaHood were from Illinois, but they were from opposite parties. Before coming to Bradley, I served as district chief of staff for Congressman Ray LaHood for 10 years. Ray LaHood is a Bradley alum. He started out his career as a social studies teacher. Ray, when he was in Congress, believed that he should use his congressional office to better the communities in his congressional district. We would host in our Peoria congressional office quarterly state legislative meetings with Senator George Shadid, Senator Dale Reisinger, Senator Dave Kaler, Representative Dave Leach, and many others. And they would bring together their substantial bipartisan leadership to support key projects in the Peoria region. The Peoria Riverfront Museum, the reconstruction of I-74 interstate, the Cancer Center, the Heartland Community Healthcare Clinics, the Peoria Next Innovation Center, and many other projects. Ray LaHood was a master at bringing people together to get good things done. And in Congress, Ray LaHood was also known for co-chairing 4 different bipartisan civility retreats. Ray had a deep belief that if he could get members of Congress away from Washington, D.C., with their families, and that if they got to know each other on a personal level, that when they went back to Washington, D.C., they would treat each other with more respect. The first retreat was held in Hershey, Pennsylvania in 1997. It was the largest gathering of House members outside of our nation's capital in American history. The Speaker of the House attended, the Minority Leader attended. It was a huge success. Unfortunately, the enthusiasm and attendance at these congressional retreats began to ebb away, but the intention was a very good one. At the heart of Ray's public service career is a deep belief in forming these bipartisan relationships. Now, going back in time when Barack Obama was elected to the United States Senate in Illinois, the week after that election, he wanted to come to Peoria to meet with Ray LaHood because he admired his bipartisan congressional leadership in Congress. And from that meeting forward, they formed an incredibly close personal relationship. They worked very hard on a lot of things for Central Illinois, for the state, and for the nation. And so when President-elect Obama was put in office, he reached out to his good friend Ray LaHood to be Secretary of Transportation in his administration. So this picture is Secretary LaHood blocking for President Obama as he is entering a leadership meeting of the opposite political party in Baltimore. Let's see. There we go. So the third example that I give in my bipartisan leadership class is Bob Michel that Joshua referred to earlier. Bob served 38 years in Congress under 9 different presidents. He was the longest standing minority leader in American history. He is also a proud Bradley alum from Peoria, Illinois. This is my favorite picture of Bob. So Bob at this time is the minority leader, okay? And he and Corinne get invited to a White House picnic, and at their table is President Reagan, First Lady Nancy, Bob and Elizabeth Dole. And I can just hear Bob. He looks like a tourist. He's got his tourist camera. And he's saying, gee whiz, this is a great event. How did we get invited to this shindig? Even though Bob rose to the highest levels of congressional leadership, he was always grateful and thankful for the opportunities that were given to him. Bob Michel was the epitome of humility in politics, which I know sounds like an oxymoron. One of the other things that Bob Michel was well known for was his civility, treating other members of Congress with great respect. And a favorite quote of mine from Mr. Michel is that it has always puzzled me in Washington, D.C., that we don't have a public vocabulary to describe civility, which I believe is one of the great public virtues. Peaks of uncommon progress can be reached by paths of common courtesy. So today's TEDx talk is about advancing societal priorities. I would contend that we take a page out of Bob Michel's wisdom. Peaks of uncommon progress can be reached by paths of common courtesy in advancing societal priorities in our nation, state, communities, and college campuses. So here's another short example I'll give. This is Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, also a Bradley alum. She was a psychology major here, and she jokes that her psychology major helped her deal with all the egos and the personalities that she encountered in politics. So in her last election in 2022, she's doing a campaign commercial, and in that commercial, she's walking down the middle of a interstate freeway that was just done, and she says, "I'm middle of the road. I'm not right, I'm not left. I work with both sides to get good things done for the people of Kansas." So I'm really lucky. It's a joy to teach my bipartisan leadership class. This generation of students is really not drawn to extremism. They want people to work together to actually solve problems. They give me hope for the future. Now I'm going to close with this story. My son Ryan, who works for Caterpillar, and his wife Alex were visiting from Arizona, and my youngest son Jack, we went to Peoria Heights to have dinner and drinks, and we're sitting up at the bar at Poor Brothers, and one of my former bipartisan leadership students, who's a construction engineering major, comes up to me and says, "Hey, Professor McMillan, I just had to come over and say hi. I just want you to know that your bipartisan leadership class was one of the best I have taken at Bradley University." I don't say that to toot my own horn. I say that to point out that a construction engineering student found great value in a leadership class. And the truth is, he got the best grade in the class. He bested the political science students and the pre-law students. The truth is, leadership matters no matter what your career path is. I love developing new leaders at Bradley University. So together, all of us, let's play nice in the sandbox of life and make a positive social impact. Thank you very much.